Sunjin decided to follow Minsu to the balcony. He stood before her and looked at her, but Minsu looked away. He slowly moved closer to her and told her that he knew he had been a bad boyfriend to her. Minsu turned around and told him that he was not her boyfriend since they had ended things. Sunjin corrected himself and told her that he knew he had been a bad boyfriend to her. He continued, telling her that there were certain things his family, especially his father, was capable of doing, and those things were not so nice. He admitted that he got scared for her when he heard the threats his father made, so the only way to protect Minsu was to let her go. Minsu, still not looking at him, told him that there was no point in being in a relationship if they couldn't face hardships together. She told him that the whole purpose of loving someone and wanting to be with them was to stick together no matter what, and Sunjin didn't do that. The moment they faced one storm, he decided to give up. Sunjin, realizing she was right, tried to touch her hand, but Minsu told him not to touch her. She turned to him, saying that she was doing her best to move on from him, and that being together in the same space like this was not doing her justice. She told him that they would stay in separate rooms until Woobin came back the next morning. With that, she walked away. Minsu got into the spare room and locked herself in. She sat on the bed and wondered how things had gotten to this point with her and Sunjin. She still loved him so much, and all she wanted was for him to fight for her and truly show her that he wanted this as much as she did. Sunjin stood by the balcony alone, his head spinning. He thought to himself that maybe it was time for him to man up to his father and do things the right way. He realized there were certain things about himself and his family that he hadn't told Minsu, and maybe it was time to be transparent and open with her. He headed to the spare room and told Minsu to open the door because he wanted to talk to her. Minsu responded by telling him to go away. She didn't want to talk. Sunjin stood by the door and told her he was sorry for everything, that he did love her, and that he never planned on falling for her. Things just happened. They met and instantly had a connection. Minsu responded from inside, telling him that maybe he was just fascinated by her skin color and wanted to act on his suspicions by going for her. Sunjin quickly told her that it was never about that, and that the first time they met, he never really thought about how she looked. He told her that he just saw the person inside and that he never cared about her skin color, that he would still love her even if she were of any ethnicity. Minsu insisted that he go away and that after this, they should avoid each other. Sunjin didn't respond. He stood there, touching the door, hoping she would open it. He broke the silence by telling her that he lost his older brother when he was 13. He continued, telling her that his brother's death had haunted him ever since because he was the one who had taken his life. Minsu was shocked to hear this. She wanted to go to him and ask if he was really telling the truth, but she sat there, not wanting to show any sympathy. Sunjin continued, telling her that his brother was smart, a genius like him, and he was their father's favorite. They shared the same goals, and he worked side by side with their father to run the family business. One time, his brother wanted to surprise him for his birthday and took him hunting. He accidentally shot him in the heart, and he died in his hands. Since that day, he felt like his father hated him for it, which was why he allowed his father to control him. He decided that he would take his brother's place. He studied what his brother studied and got into the family business, so his father wouldn't be affected by the loss of his favorite and hard-working son. Minsu sat on the bed with tears in her eyes. In that instant, she understood him, why he was doing what he was doing. She wanted to run to him, hold him, and tell him that it wasn't his fault, that things were going to be okay, but she just sat there, not knowing what to do. Sunjin, still standing by the door, told her that it was okay if she hated him because there were parts of himself that he hated too. He said that he had become a different person ever since he lost his brother, and when Minsu showed up in his life, he felt his old self coming back again. but he also felt like he owed his brother and his family, especially his father. After pouring his heart out, Sunjin sat by the door feeling hopeless. Opening old wounds was never his favorite thing to do. He had buried his trauma deep in his mind, and that day, he had decided to let it resurface because he knew Minsu deserved to know everything. As he sat there, the door opened. Minsu walked out and went to him. Without saying anything, she tightly hugged him. She told him that he was still the same kind-hearted and beautiful man she fell in love with, and that everything that happened to him was not his fault. Sunjin looked at her and asked if she still loved him, even though he was a killer. Minsu told him that he was not a killer, that he was just a child, and that it was an accident. She said it was unfair for his father to put the blame on him for what happened. She told him that they would face whatever came their way together, that there was a bigger reason they met, and that it was not all a mistake. Minsu stood up and stretched her hand toward him, telling him to get up. Sunjin slowly got up, looked at her, and told her that he didn't want to lose her, that he wanted her in his life again. Minsu smiled and told him that she had never left, and that any problem they had they would face together. Sunjin promised her that he would not act like a coward again. They both smiled and went to the living room. They cuddled on the couch while listening to music, both happy to be in each other's presence again. That alone felt magical. Sunjin didn't want to let go of her. Even if it meant just sitting there in silence, being with her was enough. Realizing that it was already late, they decided to go to bed. They went into separate rooms. Minsu lay in bed thinking about Sunjin and everything they had talked about that night. She missed him so much. She wished she could go to him and spend the night next to him. Making up her mind, she got up from her bed and decided to go to his room. As soon as she opened the door, she was surprised to see Sunjin standing there, about to knock. They looked at each other, realizing how much they missed one another. Sunjin smiled and told her that he had come to check if she was sleeping okay. Minsu told him she was, and that she was on her way to ask him the same thing. They stood there looking at each other awkwardly. Breaking the silence, Minsu told him she was going back to bed. Sunjin told her he was going to as well. As Minsu turned around to close the door, Sunjin couldn't control himself. He held the door open, stepped into Minsu's room, grabbed her, and kissed her. He closed the door behind him while Minsu was still in his arms. He continued kissing her, pushing her onto the bed. As he lay close to her, kissing her, he stopped, looked into her eyes, and asked if he could spend the night with her. Minsu, feeling weak and wanting him closer, nodded her head and told him yes. The next morning, Sunjin lay in bed looking at Minsu, who was fast asleep in his arms. He caressed her face slowly, thinking about how lucky he was to have her. Minsu woke up, looked at him, and asked if he was okay. Sunjin told her that he was just thinking about how lucky he was. Minsu smiled and told him she was lucky too. Sunjin then told her that he was thinking of ways to get to his father because if he found out about this, he was going to make sure he retaliated. Minsu held his hand and told him that they would face him together. As Minsu and Sunjin waited in the living room for Woobin, the door opened and he walked in, telling them they were up early. Sunjin went to him and told him that what he did was not cool at all. Woobin smiled and told him that he should stop acting all tough and be grateful to him. He looked at him and asked if they had fixed things. Before Sunjin could answer, Minsu walked towards them and told them that she had to go back to school and get ready for work. Sunjin looked at her and held her hand. Woobin exclaimed, telling them that he was happy they fixed things. Ignoring him, Sunjin told Minsu that he could drop her off. Minsu told him that it was not safe. Woobin volunteered to drop her off, but Minsu declined and told him that she had already gotten an Uber. She looked at Sunjin and told him she was leaving. She walked out the door and Sunjin couldn't keep his eyes off her. Wubin, curious, asked him how it went. Sunjin told him it was none of his business. Wubin told him that he was the one who brought them together, and he at least deserved to know if they were good. Sunjin told him that they were good, but he was now worried about his father, wondering if he was aware of his whereabouts. Wubin tapped his shoulder and told him not to worry. Sunjin, confused, asked him why. Wubin told him that he had made a deal with Sunjin's little sister. Sunjin, losing his patience, asked him what kind of deal. Wubin told him that Sunjin's sister had to beg their father to let her spend time with her brother at his house and told him to dismiss the guards for the night, and their father had agreed. Sunjin, already knowing the answer, asked Wubin where he spent the night. Wubin told him that he had to pretend to be Sunjin so he could spend the night with his sister at his place. Sunjin got furious.